Back then, you could see stuff. There was real stuff to see. Not that it's still real, but it's just a different real. There's a lot more. It's a whole international world now, which it wasn't back then. Back then, it was just like the street survivors of the city at the very, the physical center of it. And you saw some amazing things. And it was alive, certainly alive. Now there's, you're crashing into not exactly debutante, or not exactly like a bridesmaid party.
Back then, New York City had a raw, authentic charm. It was real, gritty, and full of life, a world vastly different from today's more globalized and polished city. The streets were a stage for the survivors, true city people, showing you things you'd never imagine seeing. It was alive, thrilling, and deeply authentic.
But there's people with flags and people dragging people around and stuff.
Well, there's always a lot.
There's a lot to see. There's still a lot to see. It's still New York City, New York.
But back then, having that experience, being in that wild New York of the 1970s, and then getting on SNL, how old were you?
26.
Wow. That had to have been a fucking bizarre experience.
Yes, it was. It was a great experience for sure.
Today, New York is still exciting, but in a different way. The city has grown into an international hotspot, filled with tourists, colorful parades, and vibrant celebrations. Sure, it might feel crowded or even overwhelming sometimes, but the energy and excitement still pulse through every street corner, making it endlessly fascinating.
You saw, your life just changed dramatically from being, barely able to pay your rent or afford, a car, a telephone, anything like that, to having a credit card. Like that was a big thing, credit card and a credit card. And, we had to, because they wanted us safe, we had this sort of...
Imagine being 26 and suddenly landing a spot on Saturday Night Live after experiencing the gritty streets of New York. It wasn't just exciting. It was life-changing. One minute, you're struggling to pay rent or afford basic things like a telephone, and suddenly you're handed a credit card. That was a massive leap forward, almost unbelievable at the time.
Cab account with a thing called Skulls Angels. There was a sort of company within the yellow cab company called Skulls Angels, and you could call them, and they would pick you up anywhere in the city and take you wherever. And it was just, you just signed your name. You didn't have to have any money. And I had a credit card and that account, and that's all. And I just lived for a couple of years like that. And you just basically, all you were doing was going to work and going to sleep and then in between, when you'd have 12 or 15 hours where you didn't have to do anything, you go like...
Having a special cab service, like Skulls Angels at your fingertips. Imagine being picked up from anywhere in the city without worrying about cash, just signing your name. This small privilege was symbolic of how dramatically life had shifted, offering freedom to explore New York at any moment without limits.
Okay, let's go, and then you go like anything could happen. Anything could happen, and you could go anywhere in the city, and you sort of had a thumbprint of okay. You could go into any place, and people would be like, come on in, and you got to, really, I probably could have done, gotten more out of it, but I certainly got a lot. I put a lot into it. I got an amazing kind of education. I got an amazing education, but I guess that gets back to sort of, I got to put my education to use, is what I should say.
Those years became an unforgettable adventure. With your career taking off, life turned into a continuous cycle of work, sleep, and spontaneous adventures. You could walk into any place in the city and be welcomed warmly, experiencing the city in ways most people never could. It wasn't just fun, it was educational, transformative, and truly invaluable. Every moment was a chance to apply everything you'd learned, navigating a new, challenging world that was now wide open to you.